everyone, this is Lindsey Polis with Unfiltered Caregiver. This is about the good, the bad, the ugly, and things you need to be educated with in home health care. Our topic today is caring for yourself while caring for a loved one. And my co-host today is my sister-in-law, Cindy. Say hi.
Hello.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Cindy.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
So, my name is Cindy, and I work as a registered nurse. So, I have had quite the journey coming into nursing. I knew I wanted to give part of myself in some way to back to the community. So, nursing has always drawn me in. I started with working as a nurse for a nursing home. And that really opened up my eyes to the system in terms of how difficult it is to care for somebody who is a needing the care as a caregiver. And I've also worked in the field as a school nurse, and I've also worked as a pre-op nurse. And now I'm working as a nurse in the space of working with your kidneys and helping patients understand how to manage their kidney disease. And I see that sometimes there is a lot of family struggle with the actual person as the caregiver providing the care for the person that is struggling with the care disease. So that just kind of gives you a quick little summary of what I do.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. So Cindy's obviously had a wide range of, different jobs within the home health care system. I remember when she started out in the SNF, the senior nursing facility, and to go back to my podcast last week, how difficult it is to see people not getting that one-on-one attention. The caregivers are, having 10 to 12 patients. It's understaffed. So yeah, being a caregiver, not just as, a caregiver having a job, but maybe even being a caregiver to your loved one, the emotional and physical toll of caregiving and why caregivers often forget to care for themselves, and the importance of support, reprieve, and realistic solutions. So, yeah, going back to, Cindy's background, she does work with people that have kidney failure. And I have talked to her before about what do you see when families call you? I mean, do you see that, you know, they're the caregiver for their loved one, or are you seeing that they're needing caregivers to come into the home besides them being the caregiver? Like, what do you see?
So I see during my times that I'm presenting and helping manage the chronic kidney disease, a lot of times I see the toll on the families that are providing care to their loved ones. I can see the toll because sometimes with a disease that's end stage, that person who requires the care and the interventions depends a lot on that sole individual. So sometimes I do see patients coming in that appear very tired and just worn out, and maybe lacking a little bit about self care just because they're tied so much into taking care of this other person. Sometimes it's even the younger generation taking care of their mom or their dad. Sometimes it's the spouse taking care of their loved one. So it's unfortunate to see the toll happening to these young people, or
Yeah,
even middle aged or older.
for sure. So, like in my line of business, besides my company providing caregivers for families that need care for their loved one, right? Or caregivers that just need jobs, it's burnout. So,
Right.
I think our topic today needs to kind of revolve around how do we give people reprieve? What suggestions can we give them? Because time and time again, I see the situation.
Hmm.
I get a phone call for, let's say, I'm a woman that lives in whatever, Colorado, right? And her mom and dad live in San Diego. Her mom just had a stroke and her dad has dementia. So she doesn't know where to start, right? Are we getting care for her father that has dementia or her mother that has a stroke, right?
Right.
And a lot of times, these couples have been together for a long period of time. They've had a wonderful marriage, right? And they don't want to give up the caregiving responsibility to their loved one, but they're getting burnt out. They're
Right.
sick. Their husbands are sick and they're sick, right? Or their daughter or son lives across the country and their sister and brother might live in San Diego, but they want nothing to do with the situation. So now this woman that lives across the state or across the country is trying to guide care for her mother and father while she has a full-time job at home and a family.
Right.
So, you know, providing care, once again, is something that I specialize in, but offering suggestions when I see things are just kind of like out of control. Because how can you take care of somebody? It goes back to that again. How can you take care of somebody if you can't take care of yourself, right?
Right.
That old saying, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of somebody else.
Exactly.
So I think there's so many things out there that people need to realize, understand. There's groups. If you have a loved one that might have dementia, there's groups where you can go get, you can be in a social network where you can get reprieve. You've taken maybe a few hours off. Maybe you go and get a coffee for yourself. Maybe you go get your nails done.
Right.
And the bottom line is you don't need to feel guilty for taking a
Well,
break.
see, I think that's where the problem is. A
Big
lot of
time.
these patients and families, they feel like maybe they're not equipped to speak honestly to their families or to their loved ones about the toll that it's taking. And honestly, I think maybe they should find other ways on social media or different communities, maybe even through their gym or maybe
Either
through other
church or
church
synagogue.
or other family members where they can help share maybe some of the toll it's taking on themselves.
Yeah, because, once again, a lot of times, and I know people face this thing. Okay. So like, let's just say, your mom had a stroke, right? And your friends and your family are with you like the first month. They're like, they're helping you out. They're bringing meals and this and that. But then it kind of starts to just like, go down. It starts to like
Dissipate,
it dissipates. Because why? Because they have their own families and their own situations.
right,
So it's like your due diligence as a loved one or a daughter or a husband or an aunt, uncle is to find these outlets so that you can come back strong for your loved one.
right,
If you're not taking care of yourself again, you can't take care of somebody else.
right.
And you also need to find out within your own soul, hey, maybe I need to just get somebody else to help me a little bit. I'm not being a bad a lover, companion,
Caregiver.
caregiver. I'm being someone that is taking care of myself so that I can come on strong for my loved one. And
Right.
kind of like going back to stories, this is personal, but when I was 25, my mother was 52 years old. She died of pancreatic cancer. And my father was a top attorney. And I lived in San Diego. My mother and father lived in Riverside, but they did have a home in San Diego. My brother lived here as well in San Diego. So we weren't able to, drive down to Riverside all the time and give my father reprieve. And that was like 28 years ago when there was not a lot of home health care companies, hospices, et cetera, that had all of these, things that you could choose from and pick and people could help you. Luckily, my father's business partner, law partner, took over my father's cases so that he could take care of my mom. But I remember
Right.
time and time again seeing my father so burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, pancreatic cancer was not talked about. It was
Right.
breast cancer, so nobody really knew about pancreatic cancer. My
Mm-hmm.
mom ended up dying within that year, and it took a big, huge toll on my father.
Yeah.
It took a toll on my whole family. My grandma, my aunts and uncles would come in and help. Friends would come in and help once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
but the responsibility was solely on my father. And I guess me and Kevin, we were really young at the time. We
Mm-hmm.
couldn't really help out much, but just watching that, going through that whole scenario with my mom really got me into this home health care business. And I wanted to make, I wanted to make a change. I wanted to be an advocate for not only caregivers, but for families. And being in this business for so long and just seeing so many different segments of home health and how people, once again, they don't take care of themselves. They have burnout.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like Cindy and I said, there's so many outlets, churches, synagogues, gyms. There's so many groups out there that deal with people's ailments and situations that I think you need to join these things.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a social group of people that are experiencing the same
And
thing
I
you
think
are.
that communication, that dialogue needs to be there too between the spouse and whoever is the caregiver and whoever is the recipient or the patient, or even if it's the parents and it's the children taking care of the parent. I think that dialogue is really important to keep those communication channels open about the strain it's causing on that specific child or the family, and having everybody understand their position and maybe even just open an opportunity for that actual caregiver to have some time and some space.
I think open dialogue is really important. And time, what I see is that family members wait too late to have this open dialogue.
Right.
Like, hey, what if this should happen in the future to mom or dad? As siblings, what are we going to do? What kind of responsibilities are we going to allocate to each other?
Or even set some goals.
Set some goals and some boundaries. Like, hey, maybe one lives out of state, maybe one lives in the city. Can you relieve us maybe once every 2 weeks, or what can we do? But time and time again, what happens is that situations happen and it happens overnight.
Right.
And now we haven't had that dialogue.
Right.
We haven't had that conversation with our siblings or whoever's in charge of monetary caregiving, whatever. And now we're in like stress mode, right?
Because
Now,
a big breakdown in communication.
big breakdown in communication.
Yeah.
So like now what do we do? Now we're scrambling on care.com. Now we're scrambling on Google to find an agency or a caregiver, and maybe they're not vetted correctly.
Right.
Maybe our mom had a stroke and this caregiver you just vetted personally doesn't know how to transfer.
Yeah.
Now we're screwed again. So I think open dialogue before these things even happen as a family needs to be a collaboration of like, hey, mom and dad are getting older,
right,
or brother and sister,
right,
whatever.
right.
Who's going to take care? What are we going to do? What's the money allocation?
Yeah,
we know that
scenario happens.
The scenario happens all day long. Can we afford care? Can we afford for my mom to stay home 24/7, or my dad? Do they have to go to senior nursing facility?
Yeah.
So all of these things that we're talking about is a breakdown, burnout of caregiving. And I think if open communication, understanding, and being proactive, like I talk about in my other segments about care for your loved one, et cetera, if these things are like talked about and being proactive, like I just said, I think you have a better chance of having more smooth sailing when it comes to caregiving, understanding being a caregiver for your loved one, understanding hiring a caregiver.
And then leaving space for yourself.
Right. And not feeling guilty.
Exactly.
Knowing when to ask for help, I think is the main thing.
I think that's the biggest thing I hear in this space is that the caregiver feels guilty. They feel obligated, and they don't know how to share this or tell this to the other person requiring the care. And that's unfortunate because that communication is so important and so critical because you're just trying to save yourself and you're trying to save your loved one.
Right. Seriously. So once again, people wait too long because of guilt, fear, or finances, and caregiving is not meant to be done alone. So I hope this gave you guys some perspective on taking care of yourself if you are happening to be the caregiver for your loved one,
Right.
or if you happen to be the one that is choosing care for your loved one.
They're not alone. This happens all around.
This happens all day long. So from hospitals to SNFs to assisted living to being at home.
Just chronic care. Kidney disease. Or cancer.
Dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's.
Yeah.
I mean, and so we just want you to know basically that there's outlets out there, okay? Once again, I'm just going to repeat. Go to your church, go to your synagogue, go to a gym, look on meetup groups.
Or other siblings. Or family friends.
Right, family friends that have been in this situation. You guys have outlets. And my thing is, take those outlets because you want to be gold for your loved one. You want to be there 100%, but you need to be there 100% for yourself before you take on somebody else's situation. So I hope this is a fun and educated kind of podcast. I really appreciate my sister-in-law being on here.
Thank you.
She started this line of business way before me. She actually got me into this. She told me that I would be great, as a caregiver, as a CNA, and I just kind of jumped on the wagon and started my own company. But I started it because of her. And so once again, Lindsey Polis. This is my company, findinghomecare.net. Over 135 five-star reviews on Finding Home Care LLC. I have a caregiver group called CNAs and Caregivers with over 9,000 caregivers that follow me, and it grows daily. And I'm Unfiltered Caregiver. We can't wait until you hear our next podcast next week. Have a great day. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. This is Lindsey Polis and Carl Madrid with Unfiltered Caregiver. If you want to check out more about my business, go to findinghomecare.net and look at my reviews at Finding Home Care LLC. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye.